This is a short introduction to Robotas Material Manager. Material Manager allows you to prepare materials in the preforming and stores area rather than at the mascot. It allows a kit of material to be produced, verified and checked, and also the balance of the production line to be altered, so automatic line balancing. To use the system, you need the Material Manager software, and generally we would have either two Carousels systems that duplicate what a mascot workstation is set up like, or one Carousel and one DPL system, again depending on how a mascot workstation is set up. The first thing that we do when we open software is select or enter a works order number. So the works order number would be generated from the MRP system. So I'm going to put in a temporary one. Then I would pick the assembly that I want to build. So this is linked to the network. So generally here you would have a list of all the production assemblies that you want to build. Then you decide how many mascots that you would like to build on. So 1, 2 or 3 or more. You can decide whether they are built in a line. So built in a line would mean that the material is being prepared for a flow line. So typically your application might be 2 mascot systems and the build quantity. I'm going to say the build quantity is 1 so that I don't have to load a lot of material. I then select Next, and now you can see here that there are stage 1 and stage 2 builds, and then mascots M1 and M2. And these mascots relate to the mascots on the production floor and would be the relevant ID. So in this example we have a possible 1, 2 and 3 mascots in a line. I'm going to use only 2 mascots. Next you can see the component quantity required. Here's 107, here is 36 components. When I select View, I'll see a list of all the references and part numbers, or the part number descriptions for each of the parts that are placed. So this is a part group CW3874448. These are the references that would be placed there. Now, I can then adjust the balance of the line here by clicking the up or down arrow. And as you float over them, you see how many components have been moved to each stage of the build. Or I can automatically select Auto Balance, and the system will divide up the parts between 2 mascots based on the part groups and the quantities in that part group. The next stage is to load the material into the carousels for storage off away from the line side. As you can see here, we have the 2 stages, stage 1, stage 2, mascot 1, mascot 2, and the individual component quantities. I've automatically balanced the line. My next step, by selecting Next, is to produce a kit list. So the kit list, if I look at that kit, would be a list of all the materials that are required for that kit. When I select Kit 1 here, automatically we open up into a different window, which is the material setup window. As you can see here at the top, I've got Carousel 1 and Carousel 2. On the left hand side are all the parts required for the build. So it's telling me there are 14 parts in the kit. Okay, this will tell you whether it's needed for the kit, needed for the build, or needed or kitted or emptied, low bin or locked. So the next stage in the process is to add a tray to the kitting carousels. So this again is away from the line. We've connected to the software to standalone carousel systems. I would take a standard 10 bin or 4 bin tray. You'll see a picture of that in a second. On that tray, then I would add a unique barcode number, so that only needs to be done once. If I add another unique code, B1, it will ask me, it didn't have a record of B1, so it knows that it's a completely empty tray. I select whether it's a 10 bin or a 4 bin tray, so I'm going to select a 10 bin tray, and there you can see in the first position on the carousel there is a 10 bin tray shown. At the same time, the carousel would rotate to you to load this tray into it. Now I can start scanning part numbers into the bin locations. The bin sequence here can be random. It doesn't have to be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, etc. It can be any order as long as that tray is completely loaded. So to enter now and load material into position 10, I double click. At the same time, the carousel would rotate to bin 10 position, and then I would take a packet of material, scan the part number of that material and enter it into the system. As soon as I scan it into the system, it will be registered into bin 10. So I'm going to do that manually with my keyboard just now, but this would be done with a barcode scanner, and you can see that it is needed for this build. If you load material that isn't needed for the build, it would be indicated in blue rather than green. Okay, I select the next bin location, and when I select the next bin location, the carousel will move to that next bin location. I'll enter the next part number, and that will be loaded into the bin. And you continue to do that until all the bins are loaded. So there we can see kitted 2 of 14 parts. Continue again. And again. Okay, if I select a bin and I enter the wrong part number, it will check against the required part numbers and let you know. It says this part is not required for this build stage. Okay, so it doesn't allow me to load it. When I enter the correct part number, again the carousel would rotate to that position and it would allow me to load, and then I need to complete this complete kit. So I've loaded some more material here. I have one location left in that tray. I will now put in the last set of part numbers for this first kit of material. Okay, now I will need to add an additional tray. Again, I can select a tray ID that's unique. And this time I'm going to add a 4 bin tray. Okay, you can see the part numbers are slightly different on the 4 bin tray. Okay, and then I continue adding parts. Okay, so I've kitted 14 parts and there are no parts left outstanding here. I can select OK, and it will say please remove the trays from the carousel and load onto a tray carry handle. You'll see a tray carry handle and storage in an image in a second. Okay, so now I have produced my first kit. The kit has been loaded correctly. It has all the correct part numbers based on the assembly that I'm building and could be checked against an independent bill of materials or something from an ERP pick list. Okay, now is the second kit of material. Select second kit. Here are the remaining parts for that second kit. So I'm going to add a tray here. Because this is a demonstration, I'm going to add it a little bit quicker and select an automatic tray 1. You can see that these are already held and recognized. If this material existed already and was on a mascot, you could remove it from one production mascot and move the same material to a different production mascot. Okay, and then I'm going to add a second tray 2, okay, and a third tray 03, fourth tray 04. Now, material that is shown in blue is material that is held in this tray locations but not required for this assembly. As you can see, you have material here that is not used on this build but is kept stored in the tray. The idea behind that is that you may have 2 or 3 jobs loaded into the system. This way you're only changing the minimal amount of kits on any workstation. Okay, if I wanted to load it into the second carousel position, okay, I can select that and say add a tray, and I can add tray 05. Okay, add tray 06. Okay, and add tray 07. Add tray 08. Okay, so that leaves me one part to load. I will enter that part 020831. Okay, now all the 9 pieces of material are loaded. Select OK. And now it asks me to remove the carousels and from the tray and load them onto the tray storage. And it tells me now the works order is complete. If the works order was not complete, i.e. if some of the parts were missing or not loaded in trays, then it wouldn't allow me to complete this works order and I'd have to abort it. So it poka-yokes that the works order is complete before it's released to the production floor. Okay, now I would be finished and could start another works order, or I can close the system. When a works order is complete, the information is transferred to the mascots on the production line, and instead of opening an assembly, you would now open a works order, and I will show you that in the next stage of this video.